All right, well, hello everybody. Today I'm going to do a video on my method of getting rust, like you see here, and gunk inside. Here you can see all this, if I can get it right, there we go. Down here, all this nasty gunk down here in the chamber, rust right here, rust here. This poor girl hasn't been taken very good care of. So what this is, this is the barrel, the chamber, and the slide housing, the bolt housing for a Commando Mark 45 Thompson replica. And I've broken it down. There's other videos on YouTube to break these down, so I didn't want to waste any time with that. This, of course, is the bolt for it. You can see the bolt has some rust, has some, just grime and dirt and so forth. The rest of the firing pin, the extractor looks okay. It's not perfect, but you're not going to find a lot of parts for these old guns. But it needs to be cleaned up. I don't see any rust or pitting here, which is good, but it still needs to be cleaned up. So I'm going to do my best to make this video for you today. So I've stripped it down. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually put oil on here. And I use a combination of Croil and CLP. But to get it started, to stop this rusting process, because if you don't get the rust off, it'll literally rust right through the gun and it'll be completely useless. So I'm going to put some Croil on it and get it soaking. And then once we do that, then I'll start with the removal process. All right, so as you can see, I've brushed a lot of the crap out of here, out of these fins, these cooling fins. These are there to help the barrel cool down when you're firing a bunch. But I've brushed out these fins and then just given it a light wipe down. But now I want to go ahead and get some oil on here. So I'm going to start with Croil, and I use a needle bottle. These are great to be precise. Just like it says, it's a needle, but you can get your oil exactly where you want it. So I want some right here on this rust. So I'm going to put this right here and just literally just start that right down there. You don't need much. This spreads out pretty fast, but I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it gets down in that bad part. That's the worst part on this particular gun right here, is this little spot. So obviously it got wet at some point and they didn't take care of it. So we'll just keep putting Croil on and start this baby soaking, and then we'll get after that rust here after it soaks in a little bit. Okay, so you can see that I've given this a really good wipe down. Okay, we've got it soaking in the Croil. And even on my rag, you can see the dirt and the rust that has come up off of this so far. Oops, I've got to clamp down on the vise. Hang on. Really messy bench today. Sorry about that. So I've got it on the top. I've got it on the sides. Okay, we're just soaking in Croil. I'll get to the inside with some different tools, but for the most part, got the bad parts soaking. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the top here. And I'm going to clamp it down, and hopefully you'll be able to see. So you can see that this part here actually has some rust in it. Okay, you see all that rust right there, particularly right up here towards the front. Okay, now I use penny. You can see that I've used this one. Whoops. You can see that I've used this one pretty well. It's actually got some flat spots. 1964, the year I was born. So I'm going to do my best to try and hold this camera here and hold it in a way that it stays in focus if I can. Get the best angle. Okay. And I'm just literally going to start scraping on that rust. And you can see immediately, you see how it turns brown? Okay. That's the rust being lifted off right there. And you can go ahead and scrape for a while. Okay. Get this rust off of here. That's a little bit of copper shed from the penny, but most of that is rust. Okay, and you can get right down to the edges. Now, the reason I like to use a penny like this is it has a good edge, right? It has a good scraping edge. Now, you don't want to scrape for too long with the rust loose, because the copper and the penny, of course, is softer than steel, so it won't scratch, and it also will loosen up the rust. But when you scrape with the rust mixed in with the lubricant, then it is going to be abrasive towards the steel. So the other thing is you want to work in small areas, and you want to wipe frequently. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off, and you can see right there that rust has started to come off. Okay, now it's not completely off. I can actually still see a little bit of rust in there, but I'm going to go ahead and wipe it dry. Okay, all right, now I'm going to reapply some Croil. Get it on there good. Okay, spread it around. Okay, you don't want to scrape without lubricant. Okay, you don't want to do anything without lubricant. Nothing in life you do without lubricant. All right, I'm going to scrape again, and you'll see much less rust comes off. Okay, much less. And it looks like I've scratched the steel, right? Looks like I've left some really bad marks in the metal, and it's going to stay there forever, and I've ruined the appearance of the firearm, but that's not the case. I'm going to move the camera a little bit, get over here on this rust, get it up. See how it's coming up a little bit? Okay, just get all in here with your penny. Hold it at an angle, about like this. Okay, wipe it down. No scratches. All right, just a few little cosmetic things that'll come out with a little bit of buffing. But look at all the rust that's now gone. Okay, now I'm going to move over here to this section, right, and you'll see that this section here looks like most of the rust is gone. But I can guarantee you that right in here, okay, right in that little spot there, there's still some rust down in the surface or down in the cracks, and you don't want that. You've got to get it out. I mean, if the rust is there, it's still going to grow, and it's going to get down into the metal. All right, so let's get a little bit more Croil on here. Okay, work it in, and notice I'm working in really small sections. Okay, but now that I've put some lubricant on there, you can actually see the redness of that rust. Okay, so I'm going to work on that section, and you'll see it come up. There was some down in there. Okay, sorry, this is not helping you. Okay, I'm just trying to get to where I can see and then have the camera as well. But now, see all that rust that's come up? Okay, it looked relatively clean, but it wasn't. Okay, wipe it down. Don't scrape with your rust in there too much. And now look, you can see how it's come off of there. Okay, so these are two small sections of a much larger piece. Okay, but I'm working to get the rust off. Now, I still think I've got some rust over here. I think I've got some down just barely in those cracks. So I'm going to put a little more Croil over here. Okay, and I'm going to work it in, get it spread around. All right. Now, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to try and hold the camera here. There, maybe that's a better angle. Okay, I can see rust over here, not so much over here, which is a good sign. Okay, get this rust off of here. It's a relatively slow process, but it works really well. Okay, again, it looks like I have just a bazillion scratches in that steel, right? It's not going to look good. Not the case. Wipe it with your rag. You can see. Okay? So no scratches left. Pre-1982 penny. I use a 1964. It's a year I was born. Okay? So here's your difference. This is a section that I've worked on. This is a section that I've not worked on. Okay? And you can see even the smoothness of the metal. Okay? You can see the differences here. So let's get over here and I'll show you how much rust comes off right here. It doesn't look bad, okay? To the naked eye, it doesn't look bad, but I can guarantee you there's a good deal of rust down here. So let's get some Croil on there, okay? Spread it around, get it nice and coated so we don't scrape anything. Again, can't have too much lube, just like Mike Rowe says, okay? Don't skip on the lube. But now that you've put the lube on there, see that rust? Okay, it highlights the rust for you so you can get after it. And I'm going to go ahead and watch what I'm doing. I'll try and hold the camera at an angle where you can see. Okay. Look at all that. Okay. All of that rust was deeply embedded down in that metal. Okay. I'm going to wipe it. And look at that. Okay, I'm telling you, this is a great method. Allows you to get right down onto the metal, get it clean, okay, and you can see the difference. In fact, let me see if I can unhook this from the vise, move it a little bit, and show you. Okay, so this is the rear, all right, and you can see the parts that I've worked on. So this is a section or a side of the 4 sides that I've worked on. Here's a side that I haven't. Okay? Take a look at the differences here. Side I've worked on. Side I haven't. Big, big difference. All right? So that kind of shows you what a penny will do. So I want to do one other part of this video, and then I'll probably edit it down a little bit. But you can see here that I've put some Croil on the side with the stamps, with the marks. Okay, and it's highlighting the rust that's down in this section. Here's a part that I haven't put Croil on, and you can see that you can't really see the rust a whole lot, although I know it's there. I can 100% assure you that it's there, and of course that part's really bad. I'm going to have to get after that with the penny as well as a brass brush and get down in those crevices. But on this side, you can see that the oil, the lubricant, is actually highlighting the rust here. So I'm going to try and do this to where you can see how it gets down. Even with the penny, it gets down into the marks, all right? And it doesn't ruin your stamps. You can scrape right over them, and it's not going to ruin those stamps at all. Okay, so I'll get right into them here. You can see I'm scraping right in them. Okay, and this side here on the back, I want to get right back here. There's a really bad part of rust right there that I just lifted off. You can see all that rust that's come out. Okay, right along here, right on this edge, I want to get all of that up. I'm going to get all of that up right there. Okay, and then right up here, usually around the edges, is where you're going to find a bunch of it. Okay, so I have used the edge of this penny. Okay, use the edge of this penny right here on the Commando Mark 45 stamp that's in this. I don't know what you call it. I guess this is the the end of the barrel, the back end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you now. Okay, here's where I've scraped. Wipe it, and you can see the penny got right down in and pulled that rust out. Now there's still some rust there. There's still some rust here, right on the edge. You can see that. I've got to get down in there, and I've got to get rid of some of this as well. But wiping this away, okay, you can get rid of some of those marks. If I can pull this back up and angle it properly. All right. Just a piece of something, but it got down in there, and it got that hallmark to be much more visible. This is a part that I haven't worked on. This is a part that I just worked on, and it needs more work, that's for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and let it soak in some more oil, or Croil, I guess. Apply that Croil on here. Let it soak. Let it get in, particularly right here, okay, where this rust is right here on the bottom. I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a little bit more, actually. because I want it good and soaking. Okay, right there on the edges. And I'm going to come back and I'll get after the rest of this with penny and a brass brush and get right down in there and get right on that part. That part there has got some fairly deep rust. This part here is the deepest rust, and that's going to definitely take a brass brush.